Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. I am here today with a Kindle Unlimited Rex video. So I'm going to share some recent reads, some recent books that I've just really enjoyed that are available on Kindle Unlimited. I actually started doing this last year. I did it once and then completely forgot to do it the rest of the year. So I'm going to try to make this a quarterly thing, share some of my favorite KU favorites every few months. If you watched my wrap-ups this year, you will definitely have heard me talking about most of these books, but I gotta share my favorites again, just highlight them for you guys, make it a little easier to just narrow down what's good. Before I get into all the recs though, I do want to share the sponsor for today's video. Today's video is sponsored by LJ Evans. LJ sent me a copy of her brand new rockstar romance, Sweet Memory. It's got this really pretty cover, it looks super cute, and it sounds great as well. The book is also signed by the author. It says, "May all your moments be sweet HEAs." And LJ Evans also sent over these collector cards. So these cards feature the couples from each book in the series. I found the card for Sweet Memory, book 1. This one features Paisley Kim, who is the heroine. There's also some info on the back of each card. Paisley was born on May 2nd, 2003. She is Korean American, and she joined the Painted Daisies when she was only 11 years old. So Sweet Memory is the start of a new rockstar romance series, but it's not your typical romance series. It's about an all-female rock band and of course the alpha heroes who steal their hearts. LJ Evans started writing these stories, the Painted Daisy series, 2 years ago, and the amazing thing is that she's already finished writing all 5 books in the series, and now she's releasing one per month from March through July, with each book focusing on a different band member. So that's 5 happily ever afters in 5 months, with one overarching romantic suspense subplot that runs throughout the series. And you'll find out the reveal, the conclusion to this mystery before the end of the summer. Sweet Memory by LJ Evans is available now on Amazon, and you can find the whole series, the whole Painted Daisy series, in Kindle Unlimited. I'll leave a link in my description for y'all to get it. So starting off with literally the first book that I read in 2023, which was a hit. It's Until You by Katharina Mara, but I am recommending the whole Off Limits series because I have been having so much fun with it. So I read book 1, Until You, and then I skipped all the way to book 4, Bittersweet Memories. They're all standalones. You can read them totally fine as standalones, because I did. But yes, I read these 2 books. I'm currently like 80% done with Dr. Grant, which is book 2, and then all I have left is book 3. But as the series title is called Off Limits, all the books in the series are forbidden romances, and they're all so good. They're a little bit angsty, a little bit emotional, very hot, and very, very sweet. They're just so much fun to read, very addicting, very bingeable. So book 1, Until You, this one is the brother's best friend romance, and it's also a roommate's romance. So the heroine falls for her brother's best friend, who is this big rich CEO. When she finds out her boyfriend has been cheating on her, she moves across the country to live with the brother's best friend and also work for his company. I thought it was great that these two both worked in tech. They're both computer engineers and they do a little bit of hacking on the side. The heroine is secretly this infamous vigilante hacker. The hero has no idea, but he has known about her other identity. So there's a little bit of a secret identity here as well, in addition to the roommates trope and the brother's best friend trope. But this one was great. I loved it. And then book 4, Bittersweet Memories. This one is an amnesia romance. Also a second chance romance, but because the heroine gets amnesia, she has no idea that she was in a relationship with the hero. And to make things messier, she's actually currently dating his younger brother, who is not the best guy. So the forbidden aspect here is when you fall for your boyfriend's brother. I guess he's more like an ex though. It's great though, because this hero, I mean, he knows that the heroine is the one for him, and he's not gonna let his little brother stop him from taking what's his. If you love a jealous and possessive hero, you will love this guy. The book is split into 2 parts. The first part is the past chapters where the main characters first fall in love. They're both in these awful situations, but then they find this beautiful love together. And then of course the amnesia thing happens, so the heroine completely forgets the hero, and the hero can't find her for 5 years until she randomly shows up as his newest employee. So this one was also a good read. And then the one that I'm currently reading is Dr. Grant. In that one, the hero is a doctor. He's actually the brother of the heroine from Until You, but he's a doctor and he's gotten this new job at a college, and he falls for the college owner's granddaughter, who is strictly forbidden to him. Like, he literally promises her grandfather that he won't get into a relationship with her or won't pursue anything with her, but of course he does. They have this hot week-long affair and it's great, but I am enjoying this one too. I really like the heroine here. She actually builds sex toys and she's trying to get enough money, enough funding to build her own company. So the Off Limits series, definitely recommend. And then I finally got to reading the Red Zone Rival series by Candy Steiner, and I can see why so many people love it now. My personal favorite, I mean, I've only read these two, but my favorite so far is Hail Mary, but Blindside was good too. So this one is book 2, and then Hail Mary is book 4, the latest one. I think the last one too. I will eventually get to the rest of the series, but these two are great football romances. If you are craving a sports romance, definitely read these. So in Blindside, we have a fake dating romance. The hero just got dumped by his high school sweetheart, the one he thought he was gonna marry. So he's feeling really butthurt, but he wants her back. And he comes up with this little fake dating scheme with his football team's PR person. She's more on the quiet and shy side, but she deliberately takes on this job, which is not easy, to put herself out there more, and she does accept this fake dating relationship with this football player because she's hoping to get noticed by this musician she's been crushing on. It's a very classic noodle college feeling type of romance. We have the popular jock, the popular guy on campus, and then the quiet heroine. So if you like that type of dynamic, this is for you. And if you're worried about the hero being too hung up on his ex, don't worry, he gets over her pretty quickly because of the heroine. The hero falls head over heels for the heroine, and it's so sweet to read. And then Hail Mary, my favorite of the series so far. This one has such an interesting premise. It's kind of enemies to lovers. It's just that the heroine is the only one who hates him. He does not hate her. In fact, he feels the opposite. But the reason for this is that these two went to high school together. He was, of course, the popular jock, and she was the one that everyone bullied. And they never talked to each other during school, but they end up finding each other online through gaming. They become best friends through that, but the only thing is that she knows his identity, but he has no idea who he's been talking to. Then something very unfortunate happens that leads to her hating him. They become neighbors when he's in college and she's training to be a tattoo artist, and then she reluctantly becomes his new roommate. So this is another roommates romance that I read and adored this year. The banter between them was great, all the secondary characters were hilarious, and the hero basically spends the entire book trying to make the heroine fall for him. I also have to recommend a dark mafia romance series. This is the Beauty and Lies series by Adelaide Forrest. Technically, I started the series last year, but I finally finished up the last 2 books this year, so I'm counting it. So it's a 4-book mafia romance series, and it gets quite dark. It's set in Spain, which is where the hero is from and where he leads his mafia group, and he is one of the most obsessed and crazed heroes that I've read. He is insanely over the top. Like, it gets to be a lot, but in an entertaining way. Like, this dude is certifiably insane, but I could not stop reading this series. Basically, he claims the heroine as soon as he lays eyes on her, which is when she is not yet 18. So he bides his time and he sends his younger mafia henchmen to pretend to be high schoolers so that they'll go to her high school, get close to her, and look over her. And as soon as the heroine turns 18, he maneuvers everything so that she goes to Spain, goes to meet him, and he makes her fall in love with him. It does get a lot darker than that when she finally realizes how ridiculous this guy is, but she's in too deep and he is never gonna let her go. The series gets intense, there's a ton of action, the steam is a lot. There's non-consent, dubious consent, all of that. There's also some branding, like name branding going on. It gets wild, but I had a lot of fun with it. It was the kind of series where it's so ridiculous that it's good, but just make sure to check out any trigger warnings before starting the series. I also have a couple fantasy and paranormal romance recommendations on KU. This first one is a fantasy romance novella. It is a shorter read, but if you're in the mood for something quick but also fantasy, then you should read The Cursed Crown by Lacey, who is also known as May Sage. I mainly read this one because I got this beautiful special edition from the Arcane Society, and I wanted to try a new to me fantasy romance author, and this one was great, but again, it's a shorter read, so there's not as much world building. It's about 200 pages, so there's not too much to it. So if you're looking for something elaborate and deep with the world building, it's not gonna be here, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. I loved the romance, and even with the minimal world building, I was still very hooked onto this whole world. So it's got Fae, the main characters are Fae, and the heroine is pretty much the last heir to the Seelie kingdom, but she wants nothing to do with the crown, which is why she's left everything behind and she's been living off by herself for a century. The hero shows up one day. I think he's the ruler of the Unseelie, but he pretty much tells her that she needs to do her duty, go back home and rule, and she's like, no. So there's a lot of great banter between them. It's also Fated Mates, which I love. So I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a promising start to this new fantasy romance series, and I'm definitely looking forward to more from it. I've also been reading a bunch of Karina Halley lately, so I have two of her series here. One is a paranormal romance and one is a fantasy romance. I'll start off with the one that I'm currently reading, which is her dark gothic vampire romance series. It's the Dracula duet because of course the hero is the one that inspired Dracula here. So book 1 is Blood Orange and book 2 is Black Rose. I just finished book 1 and it was so good. The ending, the cliffhanger ending, is wild. I did not expect any of that, but we have a vampire romance and a heroine who has been reincarnated. So we have some reincarnation going on here. The heroine is Dracula's lost love, and her latest reincarnation is actually as a witch who has been tasked to kill the hero. It's set in Venice at this music university where the heroine has pretended to become a student so she can get close to the vampire professor. There's some dark academia vibes, some gothic vibes, like the whole city of Venice has been haunted by these monsters. And then there's the forbidden romance where the heroine is falling for her target, the vampire she's supposed to kill, and she's somehow remembering all these memories that she's never actually experienced because of the whole reincarnation thing. But this one gets hot, there's a lot of action going on, some suspense with people getting killed and the monsters that are showing up in the city. So Blood Orange is great, and I'm currently reading Black Rose, which has been good so far, a little bit slow just because it's kind of starting over, but not really. I don't want to say too much about it because spoilers. And I've also been really enjoying Karina Halley's Underworld God series, which is her fantasy romance series, which is based on this Finnish mythology. It's kind of Beauty and the Beast and Hades and Persephone. So book 1 is River of Shadows and book 2 is Crown of Crimson. I highly recommend the audiobooks because I freaking love the narrator, but the story is good too. I love the world building. The heroine discovers that her father has been taken by the god of death, so she makes a deal with him. She takes her father's place and is now Death's prisoner. Death is of course the hero, and things get very hot between them, though emotions wise that's a lot slower. But the whole underworld setting is super cool, very unique. I love it. And Death is this powerful softie who at first sees the heroine as his prisoner but slowly starts to fall for her. So the series is really good so far. We only have these two that are out right now, so hopefully we get the rest of the series soon. I read some very popular books next, but I like them, so I'm gonna talk about them some more. This one is Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. This was my much awaited sequel to Things We Never Got Over, and I had so much fun with Nash and Lena and Nash's dog Piper. Oh my gosh. His dog is the cutest. So the hero here is a police officer and he's trying to figure out who shot him and tried to get him killed. He doesn't remember anything from the night. He's experiencing a lot of trauma and PTSD from that event. And the heroine moves in next door for her own little investigation in this small town. The hero adopts this abandoned dog who pretty much becomes his therapy dog, and it was just the sweetest read. It is pretty different though from the feel of the first book. That one was all banter and sass, and we still do have some banter in the second book, but it's definitely a lot more emotional and heart-wrenching just because of what Nash is going through. But I had so much fun being back in this small town. I love all the characters here. They're all so funny, especially the girls, and I am dying for the next book now, the next couple. Sloane and Lucian were teased so good here, and I can't wait for them. The other popular book that I read was Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This is the final book, the third and final book in the Dreamland Billionaires series, and this is Cal's romance. Cal is the middle brother, the one that no one takes seriously because he is always drunk. He became an alcoholic after losing his hockey career and also losing the love of his life and best friend, who is the heroine. So it's a second chance romance, and these two do finally reunite when Cal goes to his family's lake house in order to sell it. Going to the lake house and selling it was part of his grandfather's will and the only way that he could receive his inheritance. But it turns out someone is already living there, and that someone is his ex. And she is definitely not about to let him sell her home. This book, I would say, is the most emotional one out of the series just because of what Cal is going through and is struggling with. He was always sarcastic and goofy in the other books, but now we finally get to see the real Cal, and he's very heartbreaking. But my favorite part about this book was actually the heroine and another character who is very important to the heroine, but I loved her. I liked how she made Cal work for her love again. She didn't just give in to him once he came back. He actually had to work to earn back her trust, her forgiveness, and of course her love. I wouldn't necessarily call this a groveling romance, but it does have some groveling vibes, which of course I will never complain about. I thought this was a great ending for the series. You do get to see a lot of that brotherly love here as well, and you finally get to see everyone's happily ever after. I also really liked Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt. This one I've been wanting to read for a while, and then I saw my library get the audiobook, so I finally got the chance to read it, and it was so cute. It feels exactly how the cover looks. It was an adorable read. It's got a single dad. It's got a sort of office relationship, even though they don't work in an office together. The hero is the heroine's manager, and she works as a professional comedian. The hero also used to be a comedian, at least until he became a dad, but now he manages her and they are very close. She's also very close with his daughter. But then when she gets this really big and great opportunity for her career, she has to start fake dating for some good publicity. And of course, the one guy that she trusts to do this with her is her manager. So it's fake dating with a single dad and a comedian heroine, and the humor was great. Of course it has to be with these comedian characters, but the romance is the sweetest thing ever, and I loved how the hero was with his daughter. His daughter is deaf, and they share this really special relationship. The heroine also has a great relationship with his daughter, and it was all just so feel good. So if you're in the mood for something that's more on the lighthearted side, something that'll make you smile, if you need a break from anything too dark or angsty, Funny Feelings is great. And then the last book, the last series that I'm recommending, is a series that I just read, and I'm currently waiting on the third and final book to release. It's out in a couple more days. It's the Monster series, the Monster Trilogy by Rena Kent. I have finally found a book, a series from Rena Kent that I've really enjoyed. So far until now, she's been a solid 3-star read author for me, but I finally found these books that were really, really good, and I'm so glad because I really wanted to like these books, mainly because the series is a dark mafia Mulan retelling. The heroine joins the Russian army disguised as a man, and the hero is one of the lieutenants, the commanders. He does figure out she's a woman pretty quickly, so I wouldn't say it's that much of a Mulan retelling, but I really like these two. They were very hot together. Lots of good dirty talk, a couple kinks here and there, and things are very forbidden between them because she can't expose herself as a woman. Otherwise, her whole undercover scheme where she's trying to figure out who killed her family, that whole thing would fail. And she also becomes his bodyguard, which I thought was really fun to see. Also, this hero is definitely my favorite hero from Rena Kent so far, mostly because he's not a bully. I mean, he's mean sometimes, he's definitely a jerk, but he's not cruel. He's actually sassy and sarcastic, still jealous and possessive, very alpha. He can easily kill someone in the blink of an eye, but he does like to make some good jokes. So this has been a great dark mafia romance series so far. Each book does end on a cliffhanger though, so I would just recommend waiting for that third book, that final book to come out, and then binging the whole thing because it's been a lot of fun. And that is it for some of my recommendations on Kindle Unlimited. These are the books that I've been enjoying lately, but if you do have your own recommendations that are also on KU, please drop them down below. Let me know your thoughts if you read any of the books that I mentioned, and as always, links will be down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!